What's the dumbest thing you actually believed?
As a kid, my sister told me that we had an older brother that died. She said he died when playing bowling and his fingers didn't come out the ball and slid all the way down the alley, then he turned into a skittle.
I used to think that people exclusively wore hats if they were bald, because that's why my dad wore a hat.
That reindeer wasn't an actual animal but specifically a mythical animal that Santa Claus used. I believed this until I was 23 or so when I saw some nature documentary talking about reindeer. I was like, fart.
More so naive and innocent rather than dumb but still funny. My dad used to tell us kids that a dwarfed little person worked in and operated every car park barrier in the world. Every time he drove up to one, he'd press the button for the ticket and say, "Cheers mate, how's the wife?" and fake a conversation as he waited for the barrier to open. Lol.
I was convinced that Greeks still worshipped Zeus and other gods for a while after I heard the word Greek Orthodox Church as a kid.
When I was a kid I used to think professional wrestling was real, and The Undertaker scared the living shit out of me during his whole Ministry of Darkness phase. I thought he actually was Satan's minister or something. Like yeah, he's an undead overlord of hell, here to bring an eternity of darkness and misery to this planet, but he also has to make a weekly television appearance to win a wrestling competition, and you can buy his action figure at Toys R Us.
When I was a little kid, I believed that when people got divorced, they had a divorce ceremony, like where they had to go to church and say, "I don't," and I imagined the woman wore a black divorce dress like her wedding dress had been dyed black, and that everybody went to the reception where the ex-bride and ex-groom sat on opposite sides of the hall, and there was a divorce cake where the little bride and groom on top had their backs to each other with their arms angrily crossed. I eventually learned, from watching my mom's soap operas, that this was not the case, and was kind of disappointed cause I'd been to a few weddings by then, and was interested in what a divorce ceremony was like.
My dog went to a farm. Until I was 35.
I believed my uncle's roommate just slept on the couch.
When I was little, I genuinely believed the Teletubbies were evil and that if I didn't watch them on TV every night, even though I hated the show, that they would come and get me. To be fair though, they're kind of creepy.
I thought that teachers lived at school. As a kid, I thought that the World Wars were like battle royales where there were no alliances, no surrenders, and just pure bloody violence between every country on Earth, e.g. I thought every country fought all of its neighbors simultaneously.
I thought guys got periods too, but only once, and you bled and then you were able to impregnate someone. I cut my upper leg during a rugby match and was bleeding near my groin and was devastated because I thought everyone would presume I had my period mid-match and also subsequently would be walking around able to impregnate people. Worst thing is, I wasn't even a stupid kid. We literally just lived in a reserved country and I was a full-time boarder at my school, so never got the talk. Anyway, thanks for attending my bled talk. One of my favorite songs growing up was TLC's Don't Go, Jason Waterfalls.
When I was 6 I watched a movie, King Kong, and a scene with a bunch of black folks emerging from the mud appeared and I got a bit spooked by it. A bit later, I was at McDonald's with my parents and I saw a black family walk in. Thank God my parents are deaf or I would have asked, out loud, "Why are the mud people here?" Mum thought I was racist but I was just a bit inexperienced lol.
That dark meat and white meat come from two different birds. I was 12 when they asked me, as they did each year at Thanksgiving, which kind of meat I wanted. That year, I said, "Dark meat, please. But I feel bad I'm the only one who really eats it and you always have to get an entire second turkey just for me." I'm still teased about it to this day, at 46 years old.
That sperm were the size of tennis balls and would burst forth from the head of your penis if you slept with a woman, slither across the bed up into her, and make the baby. Thanks. Facts of Life pop-up book with no adults willing to clarify that the objects within were not always to scale.
That if you ask someone if they're a police officer, they have to tell you the truth. There are still people who believe this. Whoever started this urban legend is a genius.
When we played Pokémon Mystery Dungeon my little sister used to accept the lamest missions and not get good rewards. I told her about it and she responded with, "How would you like it if you were a poor Pokémon that lost its mom and was stuck all alone and had nothing to give someone to save you?" I laughed my head off at her because it's not real, duh, but secretly, I feel that in my soul sometimes.
Until I was way too old. I didn't know vaginas existed. I thought women just had blank space there and all births were C-sections. I thought Churchill was an architect because when I was little my mum told me he was one of the architects of Israel.
That someone could shoot me from the other side of a phone during a phone call. Whenever kid me was on a phone call, I always tried to end the call as soon as possible, and get away from the phone as fast as possible. Edit, holy shit, this is my highest post in all my time on Reddit. Thanks for the upvotes. Edit 2, thank you for my first ever gold.
A watermelon apple tree will grow out of my stomach if I eat the seeds.
I used to think they dropped the ball at Times Square multiple times for each USA time zone. I just assumed people stuck around for the extra ball drops cause they were all drunk and having fun. Hilarious edit. Worth mentioning that I believed this until I was an adult and had my East Coast wife let me down easy. Another edit. Thanks for my very first award. Seems a fitting one for this post.
If you ignore bullies they will leave you alone.
When I was a kid, my mom told me that people actually had gray skin in the old days for real, and that no color except black, white or gray ever existed back then. I believed that for way too long. 17. When I first saw the colorized photo of Charlie Chaplin, I was shocked. Then Gaston told me that no, people were indeed the same back then as we are now, only the photos and videos were captured in black and white because of lack of technology.
I was once told that British TV presenter Jeremy Beadle's hand had such small fingers because of a condition, Poland syndrome, that meant he had to have his fingers replaced, and that his fingers were, in fact, pig's toes. For years, this was a piece of obscure general knowledge that I would break out when I felt the need to display the breadth of my weird knowledge. And it went down really well until the days someone finally said, "Don't pigs have hooves?" I don't know that I have ever experienced such a moment of butt-clenchingly cringy embarrassment. Edit. I can't believe my confession of dumbassery got me a gold. I thought that girls peed from their butts. Then I learned about vaginas and thought girls peed from there. It wasn't until I was like 16 that I realized there was another hole.
That men can get pregnant too, damn you Schwarzenegger crying face. I was 6 and I saw a man with a big beer belly shopping for diapers at a mall. It made all sense to me and I was so happy I screamed OMG you will have a baby. I think I am gonna go rewatch Junior again. I grew up in a Jewish household but was aware of the whole Christmas thing. It was my understanding that Santa would go around bringing gifts to kids if they left out a plate of cookies and some milk for him. Seemed easy enough. 'Twas the night before Christmas and I left the perfect food arrangement out for Santa, thinking in spite of my religious beliefs, he might leave me a gift in exchange for the snacks. When I awoke the next morning, the cookies and milk were gone but no present was left. I was furious. How dare this jolly fat man come into my hole, steal my food and not leave anything in return. I spent years complaining about it and would curse the man's name if I saw him. Of course years later my dad admitted that he had eaten everything. Thanks Dad.
If you turn off a video game without pausing, the hero is left paralyzed and defenseless. Yes, I actually believed that. Edit. Dang, this blew up lol. For some background, this was back in the early 90s before I was ever aware of MMORPGs. We're talking, like, if I didn't pause the game and just turned the console off, Sonic was easy pickings for Eggman's Robots XD.
That being named Johnny was a sin. There's a part of the song The Devil Went Down to Georgia that goes, "My name's Johnny and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet." I instantly associated the name with being a sin, not making bets with the devil. This made me think kids named Johnny were sons of devil worshippers. I was a very dumb kid.
Someone convinced me for like 5 seconds that unicorns were real. They just lost their horns through evolution and now they are plain old horses.
I used to be so confused about the amount of time it would take to make movies because I was convinced they did it all in chronological order, and when they did flashbacks to childhood, I was like, wow, those actors are so committed, tears of joy. Or I would think it must take a long time for their hair to grow or change in anyway, and never considered it could be a wig law. Edit. Yes, I have heard of the movie Boyhood. It came out when I was 22, so well past my perception of movies being made that way, but it definitely reminded me of this when I first heard of it, and I thought it was really cool that someone actually did that.
Dogs equals boys and cats equals girls. I don't know, it made sense to me as a kid for some reasons.
That there was an incredibly fat, slimy dinosaur called a Blapiosaurus. I even made a whole report about it in kindergarten, based entirely off of the information my so intelligent and generous stepfather told me.
Not me. But when I was 10-ish I got my then 7-year-old brother to believe that he was the reason the TV kept fritzing out. I literally told him that he was bad luck and that he had to go to another room while I tried to fix it. He genuinely believed it. And today he still gives me flack for it.
That I coals see atoms spinning in the air. Turns out it was visual snow not.
That blood was blue until it hit oxygen via wound cut, then it turned red. A surprising number of people still believe this.
I used to think TV static was a bunch of some type of microorganisms floating around in my TV that could electrocute you.
That people would be more intelligent, well-informed, and more rational as internet access became more widespread. I hope maybe it's still gonna happen with the next generation, but the older I get the more everyone seems either petty, childish, selfish, stupid or a combination of all of the above. That WD-40 meant Windows down, 40 Malif. Someone told me that in middle school as a joke and I took it literally until I was a senior.
When I was a younger boy I thought that if I was naughty Santa would beat me. Edit. The reason I thought this was because I knew he broke into homes and in generally thought he might be a bad person either way.
There's a girl I know who doesn't believe in space. Yeah, I said it. Space. Like what's beyond the sky, she does not believe it's real and that the stars are fake.
My father and I used to mess with my sister as she was growing up. When she saw an orange tree for the first time, the oranges were unripe and very green. We then told her that all of the citrus fruits came from the same tree, and depending on when you picked them, that was the fruit you got. They started as limes, then ripened into lemons, which would grow into oranges, and then if left too long would grow into grapefruits. She graduated with honors from a major state university this year. We found out that she still believed this during our family trip to Mexico last spring, 2019, when we had to break the news to her.
My employer cared about me.
Funny story, I didn't actually believe this, my sister did. Me and my sister were 3 and 4. I was thirsty one day and wanted lemonade. My sister, who felt really bad because I got in trouble for trying to sneak a drink, wanted to give me lemonade. So, 5 minutes later, she gave me the lemonade and I drank all of it. After drinking all of it, I realized it wasn't lemonade. My sister thought that urinating in a sippy cup would make lemonade. That the trees created wind. I was a child at the time, but I feel so dumb about that one.
I basically grew up on the beach. It took me 3 decades to work out that the tides go in and out twice in a 24-hour period.
People matured as they got older. 10-year-old me is very disappointed.